And welcome into the Week 3 Countdown Show. I am your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Frankie Santiago and sometimes by Matthew Vitale. We are going to be breaking down the first half of the Week 3 slate for you guys today, talking about our favorite plays, least favorite plays, some good DraftKings picks and the like as well. A little bit of news before we dive into the slate, though. A lot of practice reports today for the most part, and unfortunately a lot of them aren't good. Although the top news is, I guess it's like it's optimistically slanted injury news. So Dalvin Cook obviously suffered an ankle injury this past week, left the game, came back in, kept playing. He was a DNP today, although Mike Zimmer said after practice that the Vikings plan on leaning on Dalvin despite injury, saying that he's a tough kid and they need wins this time of year. Oh, God. So Mike Zimmer is basically just saying, you know what, rub some dirt on it, you'll be fine. They're going to roll Dalvin out there and give him his standard workload regardless of injury.
Because that always goes well.
Yeah, this one just seems like...
So pick up Alexander Mattison.
Yeah, definitely do that. But this one also just seems like he's a vet and he doesn't need really to practice, so just give him as much rest as possible. He knows what he's doing on Sunday.
Yeah, that does seem like why he's not practicing, just trying to not aggravate the injury during the week. Jamison Crowder, groin, DNP again. A.J. Brown with a knee was limited in practice today. He is expected to be able to give it a go. Antonio Gibson with a shoulder also limited. Sounds like he's also probably going to be playing. He played last week, and I don't see any reason why, short of it being aggravated, I don't see any reason why he won't be out there. Couple Colts who might not be out there this week, though. Zach Pascal missed today's practice with an illness. Obviously, NFL players get special drugs, and this illness could be nothing by Sunday. But I would like to at least see Zach Pascal get on the field, a time or two this week before we officially declare him, good to play. Especially if it's because we don't know the nature of the illness. If it's like the flu, he could be out there Sunday, but not actually be out there. Yeah. So I'd like to see him get back on the practice field. That would speak to his health, I think, a little bit before plugging him into your lineup Sunday. And then Carson Wentz, who, as you may recall, injured both of his ankles, did not practice today. He hasn't been ruled out yet, but it's a possibility. I heard that he had 2 high ankle sprains, I believe. So
that's gotta suck. Like a double high ankle sprain?
I could be wrong on that. I can't remember where I read that, and on my little news blurb here, it doesn't specify what type of ankle sprain he had.
Yeah,
but
I haven't caught it either, so I've been kind of keeping an eye out for what exactly it is. So hopefully he can get out there, but it's not looking great.
Yeah. Even if he does, I think he's going to be pretty limited. So I am fading Colts this week, I think. Deontay Johnson, who obviously had that knee injury at the end of last week's Steelers game, did not practice today. I think everyone was kind of expecting that. He's still going to be a game time decision. So even if he doesn't practice all week, I still see a path for him to get out on the field. It's just we're just going to have to see what happens and have a pivot ready if he can't go, because he's probably going to be a true game time decision unless they rule him out Friday. Another guy who's I guess I paired the news. Good for me. Big Ben, his teammate and quarterback, has an injured pectoral muscle. Mike Tomlin was saying that this is going to affect how they prep for the game. It is unclear at this point if Big Ben is going to be ready to go this weekend or not. But I doubt he's going to be quite as effective at throwing the ball as he was, given that he has a pec injury. Those are kind of important to throwing, and he already wasn't very good. So as we were kind of saying pre-show, I'm leaning more and more towards just fading Steelers for the near future, because it's hard to find bright spots on this team right now. Deandre Swift was a DNP with a groin today. It was a simulated practice report because they didn't actually hold practice, but he wouldn't have if they had been out there. I don't think it's anything to worry about. He's had this groin since before the season started, and He's still played in both weeks. So short of an aggravation, he should be out there. And then finally, Tua, I guess, had his injury news a little downplayed initially. Turns out that his injured ribs were actually fractured ribs, and he has been ruled out for this weekend. And that could be...
That's a step up.
Yeah, that could be ruled out for, at least a couple weeks. Fractured ribs aren't super great for playing contact sports. So
Who was it that had fractured ribs last year? Was that Drew Brees?
I think so. And I know he missed.
Yeah, he missed a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
I thought he was with a thumb. I'm trying to remember who had the fracture.
Some it doesn't matter. Somebody had a fractured wrist and they missed a lot of time.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, yeah, it messes with your breathing. You get hit. One bad hit can put him right back out or refracture the injury or something like that. So yeah,
Drew Brees did miss 4 games in 2020 with 11 broken ribs and a punctured lung.
Oh my God!
Yes, that's what it
was. Yeah, I could see, especially if they're ruling Tua out this early in the week, I could see Tua missing 2 or 3 games with this if the injury's bad enough. Obviously, it affects everything from your throwing motion to your willingness to take a hit to your stamina on the field because it makes it harder to draw breath. That the whole 9 yards. So this is an obvious downgrade for the Dolphins team. Jacoby Brissett will be serving as their starting quarterback. In the meantime,
fade your Dolphins.
Hold on to your butts. Yeah. I think the only Dolphin I'm willing to start with Jacoby Brissett under center is Will Fuller. Because, as we've talked about before, Will Fuller is a needs one play to pay off for your fantasy lineup sort of player. And that's the only sort of player that has any chance of prospering under Jacoby Brissett. We saw his ability to produce, as far as fantasy goes, when he was with the Colts. It wasn't pretty. So... Will Fuller is probably the only startable Dolphin with Jacoby Brissett out there, and that's cross your fingers, don't watch the game.
Yeah, it's not with confidence.
Yeah, no, Will Fuller could easily have a 3 for 36 day, or he could have a 3 for 76 and a touchdown day, and it's just going to be it's going to be, does Will Fuller get past the defender and run into the end zone? Are you guys starting Gaskin? So Gaskin, obviously terrible last week. Not great week 1 either. Are you? But running back is running back. Are you willing to start Gaskin with Brissett under center?
I'm looking for other options. He wasn't one of those top 3 round kind of guys, so...
Man, I was thinking about trying to trade for Gaskin, and this news broke. I was like, nope, I'm good.
Hopefully you have some depth if you have him, seeing as, again, he's not one of those top 3 round guys.
Sure.
If you didn't draft for depth, shrug. I'm not starting him if I have him.
For me, just with with the lack of running back depth out there, and the fact that you probably took him in the 5th, 6th round, honestly, he's probably a flex play for me this week. Ideally, you have somebody else to plug in at running back, but just it's like if you're low on running back, he's probably going to be your RB2, and you're just going to have to just pray that maybe they lean on him because Jacoby can't get it done.
Sure. Before we dive into the slate itself, we do have to go over our beer of the week.
I was going to say one last thing to the Gaskin thing.
Oh, sure. Gaskin, yes. Gaskin supersedes beer.
If you're looking at him as a flex play, I strongly recommend looking at upside wide receivers. I don't trust him this week at all.
Yeah, I don't really see a floor for Gaskin, and I don't see how he gets to a ceiling either. So...
But our beer of the week is
So yeah, Frankie, show off our beer of the week. This was your choice this week.
This is Hawaii 5 Ale from Distill Brewing out of Illinois.
I get it. Hawaii 5 Ale. It's like Hawaii 5-0.
Yeah. It's a blonde ale with a lot of fruits: pineapple, coconut, mango, peach, guava. A lot of fruitiness in there. Vitaly said he didn't want hoppy, but he also said he didn't want something that tasted like a beer. So I found a nice middle ground.
It's an odd flavor.
Yeah. The coconut adds. You're getting the coconut.
Yeah, it definitely it takes a second to get used to it, but
sure.
Now after I've had a few sips, I can see this one as like a
summer crusher.
No, this one's like a summer porch sipper.
So a summer crusher.
You're not crushing it. I'm saying you're sipping it. There's a difference in crushing and sipping here.
The coconut in there is what's like making it almost like kind of like creamy, almost like vanilla-y, which is a thing that a lot of these kind of ales are doing these days.
Sure.
Maybe next time I'll bring you like a nice little milkshakey kind of sour beer.
Thanks, no.
More for me.
Sour milkshake. For some reason, that doesn't sound good.
It's delicious.
Also, as always, if you like the content we're bringing, if you want to hear more of us, make sure to hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, follow us on Twitter at the Fantasy 4-Pack, at the Fantasy 4-Pack _Ian, at Senpai Koala, and at the Spoon. Twitter is the best place to reach out to us with any sort of lineup or roster-related questions, or just non-roster related anything that you have. We try to get back to you guys. I wouldn't recommend contacting us on other platforms, as you will have a 3 to 6 month response time.
I mean, I respond on Instagram, but Twitter again. I'm in a couple of.
I check my Instagram like once a month.
I'm in a couple of group chats on Twitter with people. Actually, we're like co-managing a fantasy team for one of my friends' work leagues, and that's going well. People always ask me, "Oh, what do you think of this player? Who should I drop?"
And you give them all the wrong decisions because your analysis is terrible.
No. You saw the 14 team league team that we drafted.
It was solid. Yeah, it was a good team.
All right, you guys ready to dive into this slate here?
Let's go.
Starting off with a gross Thursday game. I like how the NFL is just lowering our expectations for Thursdays right off the bat. They give us this gorgeous Week 1 Thursday game, then they're like, and then it's just poop from there, just lots of poop. We got the Carolina Panthers going to Houston to savage the Texans. They are 8-point road favorites in a 43-point total game. I don't think the Texans... This is not hyperbole. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans don't score points in this game.
So, I'm not saying I disagree, but I'm saying remember what happened to start the season.
The Panthers defense has looked really good so far this year, and Tyrod Taylor, who surprisingly, looked pretty okay, is going to miss some time. They have I don't even know this guy's first name, something Mills. Gerald or something like that. Davis Mills.
He's a rookie.
Yes, yeah. Davis Mills. There we go. Hit it on the third try. They've got Davis Mills in there under center. I guess you start Brandon Cooks because he seems like he's getting 100% of their passing volume, but.
Yeah,
that's the only Texan I start in this.
I'm rooting for the rookie because I'd love to see some guy just break out of nowhere.
I mean, it is Tyrod Taylor's curse.
Great.
If another rookie quarterback just comes out and blows doors, everyone's like, "Oh, we just gotta go get Tyrod Taylor, and then we'll have our franchise quarterback."
As I said, he's a great quarterback to have while you're figuring out the next guy.
He's like the warm-up stallion.
Yeah.
Panthers side of the ball, there's a lot of options. I mean, obviously you start Christian McCaffrey in this game. He's going to go bonkers. Sam Darnold, I think, is a fine streaming play in this one. Yeah. And as far as the receivers go, obviously I'm starting DJ Moore. I'm open to starting Robbie Anderson and Terrace Marshall in this one because I think that they're both kind of the same type of play where you're just hoping one of them gets in the end zone. Most of the scoring should be on the Panthers side of the ball in this one. So if you're just rolling the dice for a touchdown, there's probably better flex plays in my opinion. But if you have to start them, I think they're fine.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think honestly, I'll go with their wide receiver options. Obviously, McCaffrey start, DJ start, and then I probably would just go with Robbie Anderson just because he has that deep, the deep play threat. But Terrace Marshall has been kind of eating into his work. Honestly, I'm kind of fading Darnold. Even though as bad as the Texans are, it's a low total game on a Thursday. Thursday games are already not known for being fantasy point productive.
I mean, he's not in my top 3 favorite QB streams of the week. But if you missed out on the good streams, all right, I guess.
Yeah, he's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
If you don't need your QB to win.
He'll go out there and get you 15 to 20 points. But I think he has that. But I think he has the ceiling for I think he has a 25. Like if the touchdowns get scored through the air as opposed to on the ground, because the Panthers are going to score touchdowns. If the touchdowns go through the air as opposed to on the ground or from the defense, I think that Darnold does have 3 touchdown upside in this game, which is why I'm fine with him as a streamer.
Yeah, I mean, I talked.
It's just not. It's not in the meat of the bell curve.
Yeah, I talked about him on our 3-and-out shot. I mean, what I saw against the Saints, granted their depleted defense, he looked good, and I like the type of throws he was making. So
Yeah.
basically what you were just telling him, if the touchdowns go through the air, I don't have a problem. Like, DJ is my locked-in start. But, you know,
I think the only locked-in starts in this game are Brandon Cooks, Christian McCaffrey, and DJ Moore, and everyone else you can hit or miss on.
yeah, I don't have a problem starting similar to you, like Robbie Anderson or Terrace Marshall in the flex. Like, those are both, like, I'm
not excited about it.
But I'm not sitting there worried if I need to flex them.
Oh, I'm trying to find better flex options.
Well,
if they're my only flex
we're
option,
always trying to find better flex options, Ian.
Well, no, but I'm saying they aren't high on my list of flex targets. Like, if they're sitting there as my top flex option, I'm probably wringing my hands a little bit. Jumping onto the main slate here, we've got the Cardinals traveling to Jacksonville. 51.5 point total in this game. The Cardinals are 7-point road favorites in what should be almost as brutal of a beatdown as what Thursday night's going to be, except with a much better total because the Cardinals are going to score at will in this game. They are also going to sack at will because Chandler Jones is a monster, and the Jaguars don't have an offensive line because they drafted a running back who got hurt.
Yep. This is a game that I can think you can just, like, the fact that they're only favored by 7 points is, I think, it's criminal. Like, this one feels like an easy, you just take the Cardinals set with 7 points here. Because I feel like the Cardinals are going to be scoring at will. So you basically, like, if I'm looking for a flex option, this is the game I'm looking for. I'm just grabbing any, like, sure, just grab Christian Kirk if he's sitting up there.
Max Williams, the Cardinals tight end, is one of my favorite tight end streamers of the week this week, just because of the total of this game combined with the usage he's been seeing. You know, he has a good chance to just fall into the end zone twice.
Kyler Murray's so good.
Yeah.
It's just watching that Vikings game and the throws he was making was
I said it.
We've never seen anything like this.
I said it back in June. He's going to be the QB1 this season.
Like, we talk about Mahomes a lot because Mahomes is special. Kyler Murray's right up there with how special he is just based on the way he runs.
Yeah, he has all the rushing upside of Lamar Jackson, with also the throwing upside of, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes.
If you look at that touchdown he threw to Rondale Moore, he's making the same kind of throws Mahomes is making. He's fading to his left, throwing off his back foot, just like a little hop step.
Yeah, that's why
the Cardinals. How are they only 7 points?
I mean, it's because they're road. It's because they're a road team.
It's a road team, so they're pulling 3 points away from them. But that's why the NFL posted that there's 4 young quarterbacks who are going to be dominating the league for the next 4 years: Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Tom Brady. Like, there's 4 guys which could be dominating this league for the next 10 years.
Tom Brady is just 43 years young. He could play till he's 56.
But yeah, no, I agree with Vitali. I'm looking for, if Kirk's out there, I'll stream him. Rondale Moore's out there, pick him up.
To quote a great movie, Ted, Tom Brady could do that.
He was already jokingly talking about playing in the 50s.
Are we starting anybody on the Jacksonville side of the ball?
Marvin Jones. That's it.
I'm not doing that with confidence, but sure.
He's been getting enough usage that I'm okay with. Like, if you have Marvin Jones on your team, you spent a late single-digit round pick on him, so he's probably one of your top 4 receivers that you grabbed. He's looked okay this season, to his credit. I mean, I just pulled up his numbers here. He's played over 85% of the snaps in both games that he's been in, 91 and 88% respectively. He's been averaging 10 targets a game, 9 targets and then 11 targets. So, like, it's not a sexy play, but he is the Brandon Cooks of this team. He's going to go out there and he's going to get 100% of their targets, and he's going to catch some of them, and he's going to get you a couple points. I did actually see a terrible Trevor Lawrence stat today, that Trevor Lawrence has the highest inaccurate throw percentage out of any rookie quarterback since Tim Tebow's rookie season.
Generational talent, by the way.
He's not. You can't.
Generational talent.
You can't be a generational talent and be a non-competitive person. But
I know, that's why I didn't believe it when you said it.
Yeah, he is. The last time someone had he has an incompletion percentage of like 36, or like an inaccurate percentage of like 36%. Yeah, it's like it was like 1.5% higher than Tim Tebow's in 2009, and Tim Tebow was if you recall a bad quarterback.
Yeah, but Tim Tebow at least ran the ball.
Yeah, I don't. Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to believe that the whole like he doesn't care that much about football, he can walk away or whatever, like is just random, like something he kind of said.
Yeah,
in an interview.
just a throwaway comment.
Just a throwaway comment, just because of how good he played to that point. But he needs to really start turning it around. Like I hate to be like the Pats homer, but every time I keep seeing the statistics about like the QBR of all the rookie quarterbacks coming out there, and Mac Jones comes out on the top, and I'm just like, did we actually get the guy? Because I mean, Justin Fields is good, but he's like a little shaky. And
So we'll talk about Justin Fields when we get to the Bears matchup. But to quickly sidebar on this, I think it largely comes down to coaching and team strength. Bill built a really strong offensive line around Mac Jones. He built a good team around Mac Jones. Obviously, the Patriots are one of the best coaching staffs in the league. And I think you're seeing that with how Mac Jones is performing on the field. We haven't seen much of Trey Lance, but Trey Lance has looked great every time he stepped on the field so far this year as well. Similar situation out there in San Francisco. Trevor Lawrence inherited probably the worst situation out of any of these rookie quarterbacks outside of maybe Zach Wilson. But I think even that's debatable because Zach Wilson's at least looked okay. I mean, he looked terrible against the Patriots, but you kind of got to throw that game out the window. Trevor Lawrence is being heavily handicapped by the start in the NFL that he's being given. Unfortunately, we've seen starts like this destroy players' careers because it hurts them developmentally. Yeah. So, I'm fading all Jaguars this week aside from Marvin Jones. I don't care what the total of this game is. There is no bright spots that I'm hunting after.
All right, speaking of the Patriots.
Yeah, let's jump to the Patriots. That's gonna be a fun one to talk about. The New Orleans Saints are coming to visit the Patriots in Foxborough. It's a 42.5 point total. Patriots are 3-point home favorites. I'm going to watch this game because I'm a Patriots fan, but I'm not excited to watch this game because I feel almost bad for Jameis Winston because obviously he had a tough test last week, and now he has to come up here and face as we were saying on the show a lot over this offseason, a vastly improved Patriots defense, a coach in Bill Belichick who knows how to take advantage of guys like Jameis Winston. While he's still trying to, speaking of guys with shot development, while he's still trying to redevelop as a quarterback in the NFL. We could see a repeat of last week with how bad the Saints were.
Yeah. If they were running like the Saints of old, this would be a much better game because the Patriots are usually susceptible to the run and just running backs in general, as we've seen like Nick Chubb come in here and just devastate the Patriots, but they still come out with a W.
Yeah,
that's usually the Patriots' mantra of sure, run all you want.
But this also might be one of the best defenses we've had in a decade. Like we've got some mean players on that defense.
Yeah, I mean I'm definitely loving the way it's shaping up, and I think if the Saints defense can get healthy and they're mostly all the way back, this is definitely going to be something that's going to be a low scoring total. My heart wants to say it's going to go over just because I feel like there's going to still be some scoring to be had in this game. I'm still leaning towards the Patriots because of the Saints. It feels like their first game was a fluke.
Yeah.
And game 2, it feels like an overcorrection. Like I feel like there's somewhere in that middle.
This is the lowest total of the week, by the way.
So I do believe the Patriots are going to win this game. I think the Patriots defense, honestly, is probably my favorite play out of any player in this game. I think if this game does hit the over, it's because the Patriots take 2 to the house off of Jameis Winston. Our run defense has looked really good to this point in the season. Alvin Kamara just got shut down by the Panthers last week. I mean, the Saints team is suffering from a lack of offensive weapons. We are currently seeing. I went back and watched bits of that game again just to try and figure out what it just looked to me like their offensive line just couldn't hold up for whatever reason. Even though the Saints were supposed to have a very good offensive line, their offensive line wasn't holding up, wasn't giving any sort of protection. Their receivers weren't getting open. And it's just allowing opposing defenses to focus in on Alvin Kamara. So I could see this just being an absolute dumpster fire of a game for the Saints. Alvin Kamara posting another just, back end of the spectrum as far as what his range of outcomes is, like posting a very poor game again. I don't want any Saints. You're starting Alvin Kamara because you can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say you.
But I don't want any Saints in this game.
What are you looking at for the Pats though?
Patriots defense, Damian Harris, end of list. I guess I'll start Jonnu because Jonnu has been getting at least decent targets for a tight end, and tight end is a wasteland.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Those are probably the two guys I would go with. I mean, the Saints defense. I mean, last week
it looks terrible.
It looked terrible last week because they were missing a lot of key players and coaches.
And I mean,
the first week,
Aaron Rodgers talked about his missteps in game 1 too, and it sounds like he was just a little bit off from missing training camp, and the balls just kind of landed in the Saints defenders' hands. I think what we saw last week from the Panthers is more what to expect with teams facing the Saints defense than week 1.
missing Marshawn Lattimore and
Missing a player like Lattimore is huge.
Yeah.
well, no, so that's what I'm saying. Like, why are you expecting them to play like they did last week when they didn't have Marshawn Lattimore?
I don't know if he completely fixes this defense. That was a really bad showing by them.
For me, it's
one player does not an NFL defense make.
I'm just going to respectfully disagree.
Yeah, so Frank, let me kind of speed this because we're also, to be fair, we're also not recommending people start any of the Patriots wide receivers. So even if Lattimore comes back, he's not covering Jonnu. He's not stopping Damian Harris.
He's probably on Nelson Aguilar, honestly.
He's on Aguilar. He's on Jacoby Myers, who are guys where it's already not ideal to start them because of the lack of passing. This game, you're just trying to capture the running game, the tight end, just because of how bad tight end is, and you really want the defense for the turnovers because even if the Saints turn it up, I can still see the Saints scoring like 25 in this, but James just throws like 3-4 picks.
Yeah. I quickly went and looked it up. Marshawn Lattimore was limited today. He is going to be a game time decision for this weekend. Yeah. So this is an ugly game. You're starting Alvin Kamara because you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Damian Harris is going to be legitimately a good play once again. He gets all the volume you want out of a volume play running back too. He's gonna get you 60 to 70 yards, a little bit of work in the passing game. Maybe he gets in the end zone. Fine day from him. The Patriots defense is a smash start this week.
Yeah, and just to kind of speak to Kamara owners out there, I don't want you to be trying to get cute with it. Like, it's not a great total like that. I might sit him. I'll try to have some other good options out there.
If you're sitting Kamara, you better have some dope running backs.
And the reason for that is last season Kamara was one of the most consistent running backs out there, regardless of matchup. And there could be some short yardage with Mac. He's still a young quarterback, so he could be some turnovers. He was one of their most used guys in the red zone. He's one of the few guys that he only needs a few plays to really break off, a long run, a long catch, and salvage his fantasy day.
Well, he's an efficiency guy.
Right. That's his big thing. So that's why I don't want people sitting there he's not getting enough work and they're not doing good. It's don't expect upside with him, but I think he returns to his floor.
Yeah, this is more of a floor play for Kamara than a ceiling play. I agree. Chargers Chiefs is the next game on the slate with a massive 55-point total. Chiefs are sitting at 6.5-point home favorites in this one. It should just be an absolute gun show. Is it lazy just to say start everyone?
Nope, I watched that Cowboys game last week, and I would say honestly the Cowboys D is pretty comparable to what the Chiefs D is. We're supposed to be terrible, but we're actually looking pretty good this season. But no, yeah, start everyone. Start your receivers, start your running backs.
Yeah, honestly, I think Mecole Hardman is a really strong flex play this week. We saw him get some actually good usage in week 2, and while I like to see him get a few more red zone looks, the yardage is there. He's really fast. He's one of these guys where any ball that ends up in his hands can end up in the end zone. So if he's gonna be getting 5 or 6 looks a game, I'm in on him as a flex play, especially in a game like this where it's gonna be a track meet. Yeah. Is there any? I think it's probably faster to say this. Is there anyone you're not starting in this game other than the defenses?
Nope. As far as the givens go, start everybody. This game's going to be Like, I mean, the Chargers defense, last year they were great. This year they look a little bit more vulnerable. I mean, especially against the run. I mean, they were great last year.
I mean, also, I don't care what defense you have. If you're playing against the Chiefs, you sit them.
Yeah, they're going to score too much. They don't turn the ball over enough.
Yeah, there's just no upside there. I would say I think the one thing to mention here is that Jared Cook is a very good tight end streaming option this week if he's still out there, which he probably is because everyone forgets Jared Cook exists on a regular basis. Yeah, he is. He doesn't feel old though. Like he feels like he's been 31 for 10 years.
And how old is Randall Cobb?
800 years old, I think, give or take.
I'm not 100% sure. I think he's 31.
No, I mean Jared Cook's actually I think 35, but like because he's been in the NFL. Yeah, I know, but like it's just he's like Mark Andrews where he feels like he's been in the NFL.
He's 34,
for 27 years.
He's 34.
Yeah,
close enough.
But yeah, like I said, I think he is pretty wide. I know I picked him up after waivers ran in a bunch of leagues this week. He is widely available in a lot of leagues. Go get him if you need a tight end streamer. This is a really high total game. That's exactly where you want to just target tight ends who are going to get a few targets to fall into the end zone.
Yep.
What were you going to say, Vitaly?
I was just saying, yep.
Baltimore Ravens are going to visit the Detroit Lions in a 49.5 point total. Whew. Ravens are 9-point road favorites in this one.
I think this total's too low.
I don't.
I do. I think they're.
I guess the Ravens have been susceptible so far this year.
Looking at both
losing Marcus Peters definitely hurt their defense.
I would say looking at both Ravens games and also looking because I watched the Packers game last night and they were letting up. So the problem with the Lions is the Lions start off hot and they kind of fizzle at the end. If they can figure that out, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a shootout. I mean, we talked about this in the trade show yesterday.
Yep.
I like a lot of plays in this game. I like Tyson Williams. Tyson Williams is gonna run all. I mean, we just saw what Aaron Jones did this week.
So this is gonna be a very plus matchup for any Ravens running option. I say running option because Lamar Jackson, obviously. The Ravens have a very good run blocking O-line, and the Lions are not very good at stopping the run. So the plays that I immediately hone in on for DraftKings and redraft are anyone that runs the football. I think Latavius Murray is actually a really sneaky play in this one that I'm willing to roll out there if I need a flex option because the Ravens should be playing with a lead. And when they're playing with a lead, they're going to run the football a ton. What wide receivers on the Ravens side of the ball are you guys rolling out there?
Sammy. End of list.
You're not rolling out Hollywood?
No, I'll roll out Hollywood all day. The Lions are running up big plays against the Packers.
So why are you off Hollywood, Vitaly?
Like I said, they are a low throwing total team as it is. Sammy's been getting more of the work, so I don't really want to get cute with it and try and guess that. Like I assume Sammy's gotten like 8 targets in both games, and I just don't see a world. Like I think Hollywood's got like a 5 or 6 target upside here.
I mean, he's the wide receiver 4 on the season right now. Wide receiver 4 in the season. He's played 70% of, 69% of snaps. Nice in week 1 and 72 in week 2. He's got 6 targets in week 1, 10 targets in week 2. Like Hollywood's been good this season. Yeah, that's why I was surprised that you weren't willing to roll him out there in this game.
I mean, it's just like this one, at least to me, seems like a game where the passing options are going to go back to what the Ravens typically do with their passing options, where you want basically none of them, other than Mark Andrews.
Sure.
Because like I said, I think how it's going to work is the Ravens are going to go up early, and then they're going to use their high-powered run to basically just keep running this up, and then the Lions are going to chase.
I mean, that is what we just saw with the Packers. So.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Is like I think that's why I do actually like the over in this one, because I think the Lions are going to put up points, but I don't think they're ever going to be able to pace the Ravens. So the Ravens are going to be able to just keep pounding the rock. So I think this. I mean, honestly, I think this is a pace down game a bit for all the receivers, but.
I mean, I do agree. If I have to start one of them, I'm starting Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins has been on the field for almost 90% of the snaps for the Ravens this season. He's averaging 7.5 targets, 8 targets a game. So like he definitely has very consistent usage. He's out there a lot, which is what you want to see. But I think both those receivers and Mark Andrews are all in play this week.
Yeah. Also, fun fact: out of Hollywood's 12 receptions, 9 of them are for first downs. So he's the guy keeping drives alive, boys.
He is.
I'm glad. It keeps your fantasy points going, even if it's not your points.
Lions side of the ball. What are we doing with Quintez Cephas?
So
because obviously you're starting Swift, you're starting Hawkinson.
In redraft, I don't like him as much. But if you're doing DFS, I mean, we talked about this yesterday a little bit.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys where if you want to pay up for some of those higher end players, he's 3,900 on DraftKings right now.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm not a huge fan just because it feels like all their targets are going through three people right now. Swift, Jamal Williams, Hawk. But one thing I did want to bring up, just kind of put on people's radar because I was looking at it, and honestly, Amon-Ra St. Brown is starting to give me this like rookie kind of takes a few weeks breakout vibe. His snap percentage is going up, his target percentage is starting to creep up, and that's kind of what we see typically with rookies that are breaking out. I mean, we saw it last year with Justin Jefferson, OBJ's rookie season. Like, we already liked this kid a lot coming this season. We really wanted to get him on rosters, but he cooled the first 2 weeks. Everyone dropped him, and now I feel like this is like if you have a bench spot to stash somebody, I think this is a great game to stash him because I think the Lions are going to have to throw. Goff throws a crap ton, and I could just see him starting to slowly take over this passing offense.
I mean, I feel that way about Quintez Cephas.
Yeah, I'm
watching the game last week. The red zone threats on this team are, I mean, obviously the running backs, but as far as receiving options go, I mean, Goff's looking for Hawkinson. He's looking for Quintez Cephas. He has the third most targets on the team. He's a bigger body. Honestly, the routes that he was running against the Packers, I mean, granted it was against Kevin King, and we know how that went in the NFC Championship game.
Yep.
But no, he looked good out there. And
but Baltimore's corners aren't good either.
Yeah, no, it's like just the type of routes that he was running. I mean, what I've seen from the Detroit Lions so far, what they want to do is they either want to get the ball to Hawkinson or they want to get the ball to this guy on the goal line if they're not running the football.
Yeah. My concern with St. Brown is that his depth of target is terrible. He is being used very close to the line of scrimmage. It limits his fantasy upside. Sure, his targets have been going up slightly. He went from 4 to 5 targets. So like he's been seeing a decent usage for a middle pick rookie, but I'm not ruling out a breakout for him. I just think it's harder for him to break out with how the Lions have been using him. Cephas definitely seems like he's their go-to deep ball guy, and honestly, he's been receiving almost double Amon-Ra's targets as well. You also factor in that he played almost 90% of the snaps in this past week. He seems like he's taking over that wide receiver one. It feels weird saying that without any Lions receiver. It seems like he's taking over that role in that offense.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like it's his job to lose right now.
Right, and that's kind of why I'm talking about it as the like stash him, don't play him, because Amon-Ra has to prove it first. But it's just like it has the same smell to it as another rookie that's gonna break out in the latter half of the season. Because like I said, we said the same thing happened with those OBJ and Justice.
Yeah, but they were much higher drafted.
Right. But I'm just saying, it's like the Lions need wide receivers, and Cephas has been on this team for years. They haven't really used it. It's like no one's there, so I can just see. I think there's a path for Amon-Ra to really break out here if he can start proving himself. So that's why this is the litmus test right now.
Cephas hasn't been.
That was Steven was a rookie last year.
I thought he was on this. I thought this was his third year on the team.
No, he was a rookie last year. And obviously,
I just looked through it, and this is a team that's going to need to throw a lot this year. And I just saw Amon-Ra starting the creeping forward of a rookie breaking out.
Sure.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like if you've got an open bench spot, I think he's worth a stash.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I wouldn't roll him out there in this game. There's definitely better options.
I'm 100% not telling you to roll on the out.
And moving on.
Washington football team, Buffalo Bills, 45.5 point total. Bills are 7.5 point home favorites in this one. This is going to be another yikers. There are so many high totals this season so far, and like the spreads on these games are just like no one's playing close games. It feels like this season. Buffalo Bills are they remain a pretty limited team for me as far as what I'm willing to start in fantasy. I'm starting Josh Allen and I'm starting Stephon Diggs, and that's the end of my list.
Yeah, this game, regardless of the total, I think we're pretty much going to see what we saw with the Dolphins game. Maybe a little bit better. I mean, Heineke's
going to throw a lot of picks this week, I think.
Yeah, it's, for me...
This one could be another shutout.
It's going to be, just long balls to Stephon Diggs. Maybe a couple other receivers get the ball, which I'm fine not starting them because, that's rolling the dice there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see Zach Moss, this is a tougher front seven than the Dolphins. So, maybe I don't know who to start on the Washington side of the ball.
The Bills defense has looked legit. We were kind of discrediting them last week because of what the Bills did last season. They didn't do a ton to improve the defense over the course of the offseason. They look legit so far this year. So if they try another good performance this week, it might be time to start respecting this Bills defense a little bit more than what we have been. Similarly, the Washington defense has looked bad this year compared to how they were last season. I'm fine cutting the Washington defense at this point because they look bad 2 weeks in a row. They're playing the Bills this week. There are better plays out there.
So who do you start on the offensive Washington side of the ball?
Antonio Gibson and Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
That is it. And I do want to say, one thing I think is going to be a sneaky...
Oh, and JD... I guess I'd roll JD McKissick out there if I need a flex play.
I'm up in the air on that one.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but McKissick did get some usage last year with Heineke, so I think it's a solid play. One thing I wanted to point out that might be a sneaky usage that people are not really looking at, I think this is honestly going to be a pretty big game for Josh Allen because we saw last week the Giants, Danny Dimes was able to run all over this team, and he's not known as a proficient runner at all. So I think with a team like this, when they just want to keep the clock moving, you're going to see a lot of just Josh Allen scrambling out, picking up first downs, and keeping drives alive.
Oh yeah, this could easily be this is probably a Josh Allen week.
Yeah, this is one where people are looking at Washington football team, seeing the defense they remember last year, and being like, oh, this is maybe just Stephon Diggs. But,
sure.
Yeah.
Chicago Bears are the next team on the slate here to have a ridiculous spread between the two teams. Sitting as 7-point underdogs on their way into Cleveland. 45.5 point total in this one. One of my favorite streamers of the week is for quarterback is on the Bears because Justin Fields has been confirmed as a starter this week.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Nick Foles.
No, Justin Fields has been confirmed as a starter for the Bears this week. I don't know if the Browns defense is the ideal first start for Fields, but Fields should have had a better week last. Allen Robinson just straight up dropped a touchdown that would have made his week look entirely different. I do like what I've seen from Fields to this point. I think he's going to come out here and put up a respectable fantasy day. A big reason why I like him as a streamer this week is because he's going to run with limited play last week because he came in relief of Andy Dalton. He ran the ball 11 times.
Yeah, something. I'll get the exact number.
It was 10 or 11. He had 10 or 11 attempts in limited play. He's going to function like a running back for this team, a la Lamar Jackson, to keep the sticks moving.
He rushed the ball 10 times for 31.
And whenever we see quarterbacks get that kind of rushing volume, it buoys their floor significantly. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, they both make fantasy hay based on their ability to run, not their ability to throw. So I'm not particularly worried with Justin Fields having a bad game in this one from a throwing perspective because he could easily run enough to make up for it for fantasy managers. As far as Bears skill position players go, I assume you guys are starting A-Rob and Dave Montgomery.
Yep.
Are you starting Darnell Mooney? He was better week 2 than he was week 1.
So, okay, here's the thing. The Browns defense, their pass rush is great.
Yep.
Their corners, I mean, granted, they played the Chiefs week 1, but they still let up 21 points to the Texans last week.
Yep.
They haven't looked...
You can throw on them.
They haven't looked great. If I need a flex play, I mean, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game.
The total will disagree with you.
It's okay to disagree with the totals. I think the Detroit Lions total is going to be higher, too.
Sure. So you're fine with Darnell Mooney?
I'm fine. I'm probably looking for other flex options like a la Cardinals, Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore, guys like that. But if I have to play Darnell Mooney in the flex, I'm fine with it.
I have him as kind of a mid flex, I guess. There's definitely flexes that I would use that I'm not as happy about. I'll like the Panthers options out there and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I put him in that kind of caliber, but I am definitely looking for something else here just because when you have a quarterback that rushes this much, I feel like we're going to see a Lamar Jackson-esque very low yardage, and I feel like it's going to end up just going to his primary target, who I assume will be Allen Robinson.
Brown side of the ball, Odo Beckham has basically been confirmed that he's coming back this week. He's a plug and play for me. Obviously, there's not. He's a guy you'd like to be able to, watch and see how his usage is for a week or two before you roll him out there. But you probably aren't going to be given that amount of time with a guy like this, and especially given the Jarvis Landry injury. He should be seeing a fairly significant target volume, I think. So I know if I have Odo Beckham, I'm starting him this week. Browns are, I think, a pretty simple team without Jarvis Landry. I mean, you're starting Nick Chubb. You're probably starting Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I'm starting the basics. I'm not really...
Are you streaming Baker Mayfield in this one?
If I have a quarterback that has a tough matchup, that's my... we'll call him main quarterback. I don't have a problem streaming Baker Mayfield. Again, this Bears defense has looked sus this year, so
sure.
I'm cool with that.
I think there's better options out there than Baker, purely because this is a team. I feel this is just going to be a game that's dominated by the running back. So I could just see he could move them down the field, but he's not going to get many opportunities for touchdowns, just because I think Chubb's going to be punching them in, or maybe
Chubb does score a lot of touchdowns.
He's not enough of a focal point for their offense where it's going to matter. Like, I think OBJ is going to have a fine week because I think he'll get his yardage and he'll get a touchdown, and that will be Baker's one touchdown.
Sure. I would say I'm also probably fine starting Austin Hooper in this one as a tight end streamer with no Jarvis Landry. Some of that volume is going to transfer to him. He's already on the field for about 70% of the snaps, so he's out there. He's out there enough to see usage. I'm fine rolling him out there at least in the short term. Final game that we're talking about for this episode, we've got the Indianapolis Colts going to visit the Tennessee Titans in a in-division game. 48-point total in this one. The Titans are 5.5-point home favorites. I'd probably take the Titans in this because, as we've talked about, the Colts are dealing with a slew of injuries. Now Paris Campbell's hurt. Zach Pascal is sick. Carson Wentz is hurt. There's a lot of offensive pieces in this game that are just missing, or missing or limited. So I think this one is really going to be just a lot of action on the Titans side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, if all those players are injured, I really don't know who to start on the Colts. So
Jonathan Taylor.
I would say, other than that, probably going with no one.
I'm still in on Pittman, especially with all the other guys that are down on the passing attacks. Somebody has to catch the ball.
I think my issue with Pittman is, do you start Pittman if Carson Wentz isn't out there?
He won't be. And no.
Who's their backup?
I honestly don't even know. I'm looking that up right now.
because that really affects what I'm looking at in this one. Because I think the only way the Colts win this one if Wentz isn't in.
Jacob Eason.
Jacob Eason.
It's not favorable, but like I said, I'm still in on Pitts as a flex guy here, even if Wentz is not there, just because of the amount of targets he could see. The line is healthy again, so at least Eason will have a pocket to work with.
Sure.
Taylor should be able to basically dominate the attention of the defense, and if the Colts can get their defense right and back to closer to what they were last year, I could see them helping out in a lot. Like this one's basically just like Eason, don't mess it up, and I think that's enough for Pittman to get work here, especially like I said, because everyone else that catches the ball is hurt.
Titans side of the ball, you're starting Julio, you're starting A.J. Brown, you're starting Derrick Henry. Tannehill's, I think, a pretty good streamer in this matchup. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, I'm not getting cute with it flexing anybody special.
I think it's important to emphasize that Tannehill is in a good spot in this matchup because Tannehill hasn't looked great so far this season from a fantasy perspective. But this is probably a safe week to roll him out there.
Yeah.
Well, I think that'll do it for the first half of this slate here. Be sure to turn in tomorrow as we go over the second half of this Week 3 Sunday slate. And as always, like I said, if you like what we're bringing, make sure to follow us on Twitter, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, so that way you can get more of our content as it comes out. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.